Yo, what is up, everybody, and welcome back to the Monogatari. Tonight on episode 7 of Owarimonogatari. So, what has happened on the last episode, episode 6 of Owarimonogatari? Oh boy, how do we even start? So, it was Araragi having a long-awaited talk with Sodachi, with Hanakawa as the mediator. Thank goodness it's Hanakawa and not Ougi, because if it was Ougi, this would have gone so horribly wrong. It would have been bad. It would have been miserable. But we had Hanakawa on mediation duty. We had Araragi there kind of carrying, like, doing most of the legwork because, he was the one that was actually attached to Sodachi's past the most. And it just all unfurled from there. Incredible ups and downs, where Sodachi moves from so much anger and hate being, like, a really strong word, into, like, a very soft and quiet, like, please go home energy, which is just so brutal. We also got, like, her flashback / description of, like, what happened with her mother after she had moved out or moved out with her mother to that new house, or, like, the divorce with her dad, all the way up to then living on her own after her mother disappeared and such, despite her pleas for her to not wish for her mother to disappear. Just a ton of stuff there. We ended on a positive note, at least, thank goodness, where Araragi gave, like, a baller speech with Hanakawa there to say, like, hey, well said, my boy, which is just so good, And we'll probably end up rewatching that speech anyways. So that's just the little recap to get us on the mental wavelength. But let me just, boom, I'll get the comments up. You already know how it goes. We got a lot of really good stuff this time. Hopefully, I'll catch as much as I can, but do I have a Dr. Pepper? Oh, thank goodness I have a Dr. Pepper. I'm going to need the caffeine. I already know I'm going to need the caffeine. Okay, so yeah, we're actually going to go bottom to top on this one, because I read it bottom to top. So it's going to be easy for me to kind of stay on the line here. Cappy sweep. I think I said that right. Cappy sweep. But yeah, okay. So we're just gonna go bottom to top, hit a lot of fun stuff, and then we'll do a more full recap swipe through after we do this. When I actually scroll through the episode, you know how it goes. We've done this like a million times. This is like number 70 or something ridiculous. But yeah, we'll just start with this. So this is incredibly sad. It's that her voice in the beginning, like, she struggled to say Araragi. It isn't because of her swollen cheek from the Senjo knockout punch, but instead her not being used to speaking out loud. So the quote from the light novel is, I noticed there was something unnatural about the way she spoke, a weak vibrato, like she wasn't too used to talking, as if she didn't have full control over the volume of her voice. That's just so sad. This immediately, because at first when I watched that, I was a little confused, and then I think later I was like, oh, it's probably the cheek, right? I don't remember if I said it or if it was when I was editing. I was like, oh, it's probably the cheek. But for it to be just straight up that she hadn't talked in that long, that, like, her vocal cords kind of fell out of practice and it took a second for her to get them back on. I mean, that's just sad, right? It shows, like, how isolated she was for so long. What that made me think of, this is kind of just a crazy... There's going to be a couple tangents on this episode. This is going to be a tangential episode. I'll try to keep it pretty focused, though. I had a period in high school that I would just go I would go to school during the entire day, and I just wouldn't talk to people, right? I would, I just didn't have any friends in my classes or whatever, so I'd just be, like, dead silent the entire day. I mean, I'd eat, like, lunch in the middle or whatever. And what I would notice is after long enough with my mouth closed, my, like, lips would seal together a little bit, right? Like, and then when I opened them, it made, like, kind of like some weird, like skin, like, right? Like, it kind of had to open up. Like, if you've ever had your mouth closed for a long time and kind of had, like, a kind of thing. I don't know, I had that happen, like, constantly, right? Which is just I know it's kind of a random analogy, but it's kind of that idea where it's like, you go long enough without speaking and your mouth kind of just is like, I'm just going to chill here and it can close up a little bit or whatever. So that's just a little personal anecdote of, like, kind of something similar, that maybe a couple other people have kind of had. And so, yeah, I mean, it's incredibly sad and shows how isolated she is. Like, she's literally just alone in a room hating everything outside of herself, because if she brought that into herself, then she would be destroyed, right? The Todachi, what was the name? Tetsuju? The Tetsuju name was the teacher on maternity leave. I forgot it. I forgot. But no, yeah, and so that's Sodachi skill issue on Well, I don't know. I don't want to call it a skill. I don't know. I feel bad calling Sodachi out on skill issue. The poor girl. Sodachi has skill issues. I mean, I guess, i.e., bad luck. I guess that's fair. Okay, we can call if we want to call the bad luck a skill issue. I can take that. I can take that. But yeah. So that name Tetsuju is the teacher's name. Good. The lack of an oddity is super interesting. Sounds like something Ougi would like you slash Araragi to do. That's kind of scary. Removes the safety, makes you look at ugly reality. But Ougi wants us to do it before we're ready for it. Like, that's something you gotta ease into, okay? You can't just jump into the hot tub. You gotta get the toes in, get the ankles in, get the leggies in. You know what I'm saying? You gotta, you know. You don't want to just jump into the boiling water kind of deal. But yeah, the lack of an oddity is something so crazy to me. And a good point on that was, let me just real quick grab this, that I mean, Sodachi doesn't have oddities because she's unaware of oddities' existence, right? It's kind of that thing that, like, oddities in the story aren't a one-to-one metaphor for, like, trauma or, like, pain or whatever, even if there's a lot of overlap, because, I mean, we're getting an example here of no oddity, yet there's a lot of pain and suffering. And then other times we've gotten oddities that aren't necessarily, like, super correlating with, I don't know, like mental trauma or whatever. But it gets kind of complicated. We would have to jump into specific oddity examples. But yeah, I mean, that's like part of why this hits so hard 100%. Because, like, dang. It's like, and somebody else said something about this as well that I'm thinking of how the lack of oddities, like, makes it more real or something. Like, right in here. Sodachi was just so painful and how mundane her situation was. It's easy to separate yourself from media when there are obvious elements of fantasy involved, like White Hanakawa, Medusa, and Nadeko. But this felt so real that I couldn't help but tear up on my first watch. Yeah, I mean, 1,000,000%, right? It's just straight up pain. It's just straight up pain, and it's real too. Like, it's real pain. I mean, this is an experience that real people go through, real human beings out there, right? And that can include, like, the people watching this. That can include, like, any friends or family of the people watching this show. You know, that kind of thing. Which is why, like, and I've talked about this before in other shows, but whenever you bring in, like, heavy-hitting themes like that, I always, like, my expectation, my bar of entry for this show being considered good goes up a ton, right? Because this is, like, a serious thing. Like, people go through this. This is, like, domestic abuse and childhood trauma is serious, and I kind of, as an audience member, expect the piece of media to do it justice, right? Which is part of why this, like, grand slams for me so hard, is I feel like it's really captured a lot of those feelings in a way that is very emotional and very, very influential, as opposed to just kind of throwing it in there and then not doing anything with it, right? Where they're actually taking, like, the characters are taking it seriously, the story itself is taking it seriously. We're not getting all the, like, we're not even getting, like, pervy shots or whatever to try to, like, pull us away. Not that would completely be horrible for execution. It just, that could get in the way. You know, it kind of depends. We've seen stuff before in the show that does weird stuff that kind of plays with that. But it just, that's part of why I like it so much, is because it pulls in these themes, and I feel like it gives them the time to shine and actually discusses them with the characters in a way that just works. Like, it actually works, you know. Araragi says he doesn't remember Sodachi was in his home, but he remembers that something disappeared. It was the first time he felt a sense of loss in his life. That's just sad. That just makes me sad. Sodachi looks like Frieren. Kind of real. I can see that a little bit. We're watching Frieren right now. It's a pretty good show. Yeah, okay. Sorry, I was about to say something. I don't want to talk about Frieren now. I don't want to, like, spoil people. Go watch Frieren. It's a good show. It's a fun little show. It's ironic how the arc with no oddity or supernatural elements ended up being the most unsettling. Yeah, like that kind of idea, or the most unsettling. Exactly that, because it's real, and so we no longer can hide, and that makes it just so tragic. And puts such a mirror up to, like, actual people and actual society and actual emotions. This, by the way, some of the stuff in here is really good. I really like some of the stuff in here. The idea of, and this is an idea that some people have talked about in the Discord, of, like, the room, and I haven't really gone into this idea, right? So I don't really have, like, a very good understanding of it. But the idea that, like, the characters' rooms are, like, reflective of their, like, inner being, right? Or, like, are reflective of them, just, like, in some sense, right? And I'm being kind of vague because I don't have it super locked in my head. But at least with Sodachi, that is, like, a super strong connection that, like, I think this comment really underlines really well. That, like, this line right here, I'm using very little furniture now. Isn't this place nice and clean? like the different meanings are insane, right? Where like it does feel like a plea, like a it's so pitiable. It's so pitiable in such a sad way. And I know that's that's kind of what makes it so hard to like for Araragi to engage with her or to like hypothetically engage with her. It's because she doesn't want to be pitied, but it's also just so sad. But the idea that the cleanliness of her house isn't for the sake of being clean as much as for the sake of distinguishing her house from her past life, her past trauma, is, I mean, that's just, it's like, it's forcing the connection. Uh, let me just read some of this because this is put pretty well. She doesn't actually care about minimalist interior design. She keeps her house clean because it has become a symbol to her that she's escaped her past life and past homes. Right here, which has in turn actually trapped her since clinging to the symbol of a clean home only restricts her options. That kind of thing, where it's like being a contrarian, right? Shout out Kaiki. Where if you're a contrarian, you're like almost just as stuck as the person that believes the thing that you're a contrarian to, right? Like if someone believes that all apples are delicious and you're a contrarian and you're like, oh, well, actually, apples are disgusting, then like the person is locked into liking apples and you're locked into disliking apples. Like you are a slave to them liking apples because that is what you are, as through being a contrarian, basing yourself off of. So for Sodachi to be, her house is clean, not because she enjoys it being clean, but because she's trying to make it not dirty, right? It's not that I clean my room because I like it clean. It's because I clean my room because I hate what it being dirty is to me. And so all my cleanliness is a action that is directly tied to all my past trauma, right? And it's not like a bad thing. Like it's like what else is she supposed to do? It's not like her living in garbage would be better because that's gonna just as bad. It's going to like remind her of her trauma. I mean, she'll be like living in the same environment. That's why she moved, is to get away with it. But it shows how much that haunts her, that it's clean in relation to how it was dirty, as opposed to just being clean. So that I really, really like. I really, really like that. This is kind of the pity part, right? It's difficult to praise her for cleaning her home, because a lot of the things she does that is seen as good, a lot of her positive actions and redeeming qualities, that we would even see as virtuous if other characters do it, feels pitiful. So how are we supposed to like help her out if the things she does positively is kind of pitiable because it's all in the name of being distinct from her past trauma? That's crazy, man. Her cleaning her home, speaking politely, admitting Araragi is not the source of her misfortune, recognizing her own mental problems, and reframing her broken childhood as a learning experience are all things that sound good on paper, but I can't be happy about it when she feels like she's only doing this as a response to pain. Yeah, and it's just, I like this kind of thing of like, I can't be happy about it, because that's kind of the thing with pain, like, when you go through something really horrible and you climb out of it, like, it's still horrible. Like, climbing out of it isn't some like, I mean, it can kind of be skewed or, like, viewed kind of depending on the context as, like, a beautiful emergence or something. Like, you can definitely do that as, like in a piece of media, you could, like, pull that off. But, like, I feel like realistically, so many of the times that somebody, like, suffers greatly and then tries to pull themselves out of it, it's just, everything they do is still in relation to that. So it's not like you can be, like, if you try to go, like, yay, good job, like, you're doing better now, then it just reminds them that they were already doing worse. And so you can't like exactly be like, it's hard to be happy about it, but it's also like the right direction. I think it kind of comes down to me of like a attempt that people have that I'm personally kind of against, of like like what would be the word, making pain into a monument, or like trying to ascribe meaning to pain. People try to ascribe meaning to pain all the time, and I hate that. I hate that, right? Or not. Well, you can ascribe meaning to pain, more so meaning to suffering, right? Because if it's suffering and it's horrible, trying to put like, oh, but this was actually good somehow. I mean, it's just kind of copium to me, right? And so, a lot of the attempts that like would be seen as virtuous, and it arguably still are virtuous, such as like cleaning a room, all these things, they like trying to like, if you push it too far and try to like make it into something positive, then it's just kind of copium that's referential of the misfortune. Like, it's a horrible situation. And I feel like if we can just agree with that and stop trying to pretend that it's somehow good, then at least we'll be on a closer wavelength that's like better for like, a closer wavelength with each other. Something like that. Yeah. Trying to give meaning to suffering is so crazy. Such a crazy thing here. And then Hanakawa's the goat of fiction, the goat, bro. The last tier list, I'm pretty sure she won it. I'm pretty sure she got the top best character slot. She's gonna be in the top couple for sure, unless they somehow assassinate her character. But I don't even know how you would do that at this point. I have faith the show's not gonna do that. The show's popping off. But yeah, so I really liked those points. And I really appreciate the like kind words as well. That's very sweet. Last thing here, let me. This entire scenario feels like something Oshino would call a bad matchup for Araragi. True. I mean, that's so true. Oshini's not even here, but actually pretty true. Let me make sure I'm not missing anything. It's not his fault, but he has happened to show up at Sodachi's lowest moments, even though Araragi might want to help her. Seeing him reminds her of things that she would rather forget. Right, and it's hard, and that's why like it's hard to feel like you have the authority to force her to remember things or like to force her to confront things. So like when she says in the middle of the episode, I think I literally have it pulled up because I was rewatching it a little bit. When she says like, "Could you please leave?" Like be like, you know, in the kind of in the midpoint, not at the end with the town hall people, but the midpoint. Araragi's, I think, about to agree to it, right? And then Hanakawa steps in and starts asking questions. So she interrupts it. But the reason she interrupts it is because, I mean, she knows Araragi's going to, accept it. Because, like, what else are you supposed to do if you're Araragi? Say, no, I don't care that you're uncomfortable. I don't care that I'm bringing up all your trauma. We're going to deal with it. You know, like, you got it. On what authority can you do that, right? So for Hanakawa to change the subject, so it's not like you're going against her, but you're still showing interest in trying to keep the ball rolling. It's like being pushy. It's like being a little pushy as opposed to like forcing the issue, right? So that was just Hanakawa goat move per usual. Yeah. The way Nisiosin, is that how you pronounce it? I found this arc to be in the top 3, maybe the number 1 of most impactful. That's pretty true. I haven't seen all the arcs yet, of course. Tsubasa Tiger, I feel like for me, my top 3 right now might be like, maybe we'll do an arc tier list at some point. I've thought about that before. That'd be so hard to do. I feel like the top couple, I won't say top 3 because I have trouble. One of my problems with Monogatari in my head is I forget the names of the arcs sometimes because like the season names are different than the arc names, and it's just hard to keep it all straight in the head because there's like 24 of them all. But the Tsubasa Tiger, probably this arc, Sodachi lost, and then whatever the Hana Monogatari arc name with Numachi, those 3 probably got me the most emotionally impacted. Though some of the other arcs definitely got me were really powerful in other ways, you know, and really engaging in other ways. Like I don't know, like the Owari, was it Otori? Owari? No, we're in Owari. So Otori with the snakes. If I'm getting that right, if I'm remembering that right, like yeah, Kaiki talking to Snake God Nadeko, that was fire too. That was like so incredibly good that I would want to have that in the top couple, you know. But like raw emotion, bro, the Numachi killed me. Shout out Numachi. But yeah, the way Nisio-sen somehow managed to fit a legitimate story of abuse, depression, and hopelessness without monster allegories or metaphors, just the hard-hitting reality that a person with a life like this exists in the life of Araragi is impressive. 1,000,000%. A million percent. And it's, like, man, this being, like, in parallel to Araragi, where there's not any, because we're constantly in monster allegories and metaphors, which sometimes almost feels like an escape, or like Araragi distracting us from like the actual trauma underneath. That for this to now slip in is just, I feel like that's so reflective of Araragi's story that he's telling, and then also like I feel like that's so reflective of Araragi's story he's telling, period, right? By nature of being in the middle of Monogatari, like it makes it even more powerful. And this I really like as well. It makes Araragi realize, and also us as an audience, that between all the people Araragi filters out of his life, some of them live lives like that of Sodachi. Dang. Because I mean, as much as that is a statement on Araragi's filtering and like the perspective he has on other people, where a lot of the times he just kind of gets rid of them from his view, avert his eyes type behavior. As much as it's a statement on that, I mean, it's also just a statement of like, there are people like this everywhere. You know, like you can't, like it's almost an idea of like, you never know what someone's going through a little bit, where, I mean, you could just be passing someone on the street or like a person in a class or work setting, right? And some of them might have lived lives that are somewhat similar to Sodachi, right? And you never really know. So a couple things in here. I did bring this up. That's a good point because yeah. Okay, so we're assuming she has no pre-existing belief in the supernatural. I think that's a super safe assumption to the point of basically being true. Um, then I kind of like wonder where because I feel like the reason I think I brought that up was trying to figure out where her Sodachi's mom went, where Sodachi's mom went. Because it was like okay maybe like she just disappeared, you know. Um, and so one of the crack theories that I've come up with that I've thought about is like and this is in contrast to the end of Koyomi Monogatari, where Araragi gets killed by Gon. Uh, so I'm gonna get there. He gets killed by Gon, and then now we're kind of doing a flashback a little bit in Owarimonogatari to this Sodachi Lost arc, where she asks like, "Go find my mother." So unless next episode we like find her mother, or like in the next following episodes we find her mother, I wonder if like her mother's dead, and that Araragi will find her when he's dead too, in that place where he's with Hachikuji. Oh my goodness, we're gonna get Hachikuji again soon. Hachikuji. Hachikuji. Somebody said Hachikuji right there. But yeah, so it makes me wonder if her mother died somehow, and that's how we're gonna find her. And the reasoning of that is like we kind of got into some of the stuff with the doors. I kind of like one of the ideas, if it has nothing to do with oddities, is that Sodachi saw her mother in the room and her mother had died in the room. Maybe through her own means or maybe through like something else. And Sodachi sees like her dead mother and then leaves, right? And that's why she like abandons the house and she blocked that out, right? Just simple as that. She completely like blocked out that memory and instead has that like please go find my mother thing as like a coping mechanism for her like mother having passed. Now that is super dark, so I'm not sure that the show will go there. But I could see the situation where her mother's died either in the room or maybe she somehow left. Not sure the door stuff that Hanakawa was talking about. Not sure exactly how that would have worked. But maybe she somehow left and we'll find her, or she somehow left and then died somewhere else. And that would connect us back to the realm of the dead thing. But yeah, so that was an idea that I thought about just as a crack idea that's kind of related to like that line of thought of like where the heck is like what happened to Sodachi's mother and like why, you know, is that somehow oddity based? Because that's kind of where I jumped to, right? Where it's like, you know, Hanakawa is saying all this stuff about doorknobs and it's like, oh shoot, that means something crazy happened. Oddities are crazy. But yeah. The two Sodachis, this is from the OP, are the cute, happy math fairy girl who taught him so much and the angry, hateful, abused girl that was underneath what he saw/wanted to see. She speaks with disgust of the summer he equally values so much and blames for his attempted rigid adherence to his principles and throws everything into question. Whether this split is also conceptualized from Oikura's POV is irrelevant. This is Adaragi's story. And he's using the featured girl to talk about himself as he always does. I would say that, I wouldn't say it's irrelevant for Oikura's POV because I do, like, I think that in relation to Adaragi, I would agree with that, right? And it also has very interesting implications for him and Ougi. Though I do think that split is still, like, valuable for understanding Sodachi and, like, reading into Sodachi, kind of even isolated from Adaragi, in that there's the side of, I mean, it's like, because it's like an abused kid, right? There's the side of the broken kid, the abused kid, and then there's the other the like projection that the kid uses to defend himself, right? So that would be Sodachi being like her quiet, her like, because she has the two demeanors she kind of switches from, right? Where she's loud screaming about hate, and then she becomes very quiet and like pleading. And so it almost feels like there's the quiet pleading child that gets abused, and then the hateful, spiteful shell that, you know, freaking hedgehog dilemmas that freaking anybody that gets close by as a way to protect herself, right? So I do think that works as like an abused child metaphor, especially with the way that they like cuddle with each other in the OP, because like there is a very like an intimacy there that I think would be very valuable in, or like very present in an abused person's conceptualization of their like different personas, because like, yeah, like I feel like that just work, like I don't know how to describe it, where like if you're like an abused person, like an abused kid, mostly like specifically a kid, I feel like it like kind of works the best with, if you're like an abused kid and you have that other side that like protects you, like that kind of rage or whatever it is that protects you. I feel like there would be like a very intimate relation with that other side, right? Though who's to say? I mean, it's so individual, but so that's that point I kind of bring up is mostly to say that I do think there is value in kind of understanding Sodachi. Of course, everything is kind of through Araragi's lens, so it is what it is. I do like this line of he's using the featured girl to talk about himself like he always does. Man's kind of narcissistic. Man's kind of. I feel like we've talked about that before. I'm pretty sure, but like, dang, bro, like. It's just a tool for you to tell us about you. What about Sodachi, bro? But yeah, and it being more blatant as the show progresses is definitely something we've been seeing. You seem to have no particular trouble. The mire vagueness that Araragi equals struggles with and uses to forget his struggles. Very true. Man, and yeah, the thing of this is something really interesting. Maybe let me start with this one. Blaming my parents isn't enough anymore to keep me intact. I need a villain. Yeah, you don't even need to say anything on that. I mean, that's straight up something that, like, I almost feel like, I don't even know. Like, that straight up feels like something that's true for Araragi, but he would never admit it. And I don't even think Ougi would admit it, like, low key, that it's, like, that deep, So for it to be coming out through Sodachi, I think would make a lot of sense. Because he can't blame his parents for like the justice system imposed on him. He's kind of grown past that. He needs a villain to project things onto. He needs somebody on the other side of the board, right? Which then, Ougi, you available? I have to accept my experiences because others have it just as hard. Comparison is the root of so much suffering in this world. Comparison is the root of so much suffering. Great Sengoku line too. This thing is something I've been turning over in my head for a while. I've been turning over a concept that this comment like says a statement on. So I'm going to use this comment to bring that up. She's living a good life now, so wouldn't it be right to still be unhappy? Sodachi, obviously parallel to Araragi saying, I'm very happy right now 2 episodes ago. His life is objectively good, so he has to be grateful for what he has, even if he doesn't value it. That distinction, because whenever he said, like, I'm very happy right now, and him, like, having a statement on the nature of happiness, like, not being that powerful in the last episode. Yeah, bless me. Yeah. The Dr. Pepper man. That led me to question, like, is Araragi happy? Right? Like, I was left thinking, like, do I believe him when he says he's very happy right now? And to what how does that kind of make sense given all of the Araragi pain and suffering and struggle and aversion that we keep talking about? How does being happy, like, correlate with that, right? That's, like, the question that's been buzzing in my brain. To which it's like there's a difference between man, how much do I want to spin off into tangents? I think this is a pretty good way to put it. So he has to be grateful for what he has, even if he doesn't value it, right? Because I mean, there's kind of the question of like, what is a good life, right? What is the life that we would want to pursue? Is it one where we're happy or something else, right? Because Araragi, I mean, he's saying like he hates him. He's starting to hate himself for his happiness, right? So being happy, I don't think, like, at least for Araragi, correlates to living a good life, because I don't think he's very satisfied with his life, right? I don't think he even values his life very highly, right? So, like, what's the point of happiness then? Is kind of where you're left a little bit. And that's kind of been something I'm thinking about, like, even outside of Monogatari. I'll make this quick, of, like, what is the good life? Like, how is one to decide? I mean, it's kind of similar with the paths, like the road analogies and such. It almost kind of fits into that. But, like, what is a good life? Like, what do we do to maximize our life? And the kind of spot I'm currently at is that a good life is one in which your desires are satisfied. A good life is one in which you believe that your desires are satisfied. That's kind of the current statement that I think I'm at. In which case it would be, like, if you desire to, I don't know, eat yogurt all day, and then you eat yogurt all day, then guess what? You're living a good life, right? And so it's completely subjective, right? But what that's unique from is it's unique from, like, straight up hedonism, which would correlate to pleasure or happiness, right? So, like, if somebody didn't desire to be happy, then happiness wouldn't be good for them to live a good life, right? So it separates the happiness from the good. In which case, like, Araragi being in a situation where he's very happy, but desiring deep down something different, or not or his desires don't equate to feeling deserving of this happiness, would I think work with that pretty well, right? That idea. Uh, yeah. And so, oh man, because if you like this idea of like, so he has to be grateful for what he has, even if he doesn't value it. I mean, that kind of sucks, right? Like feeling like you owe it to what you have to be grateful, even if you don't like it. I mean, it's almost like melodramatic to not like it, but also if you truly don't like it, then like be like forcing yourself to feel grateful. I feel like that's just cognitively dissonant and would hurt, you know. Loving yourself without turning yourself into someone worth loving is just narcissism. That's just a bar, by the way. His commentary on our utterings. I wish I'd never known you. I wish I'd never met you. Yeah. So, yeah, and that's the power of happiness is a big question, you know, and that's something we'll get to. We'll get to that more in a minute, I think, with that whole line of like happiness won't break you or whatever, like that whole sentiment. We'll get back to that in a minute. But yeah, rather than clean up the mess, I wanted to leave it all behind. Real. So Dachi in her house, the house that she was with her parent, she wanted to just leave it all behind. Aragi telling all these stories about nonsense without talking about his parents. Rather than clean up the mess, I wanted to leave it all behind. Bro, no, clean up the mess, okay? If you wait too long, janitor Ougi's gonna pull up and gonna force you to clean it, okay? Teacher's gonna say, no, not leaving the classroom until this mess is clean. That was literally Ougi a couple episodes ago, bro. That was literally Ougi in episode, 1 or 2 of Owari. With the freaking Ougi riddle or whatever it was called. Tell me if helping you made you happier. Obvious parallel to the compensation Aragi secretly wants. What I have is pretty normal. Trying to downplay it. What he has so he can feel guilty about not appreciating it. Ooh. So we can feel less guilty about not appreciating it. Yeah, because that's kind of what I mean about like the cognitive dissonance thing, where like if you think it's something worth appreciating, like through some sort of objectively good metric, which I think is kind of part of that whole justice thing that's kind of put on you. If you think it's objectively worth being grateful for and you don't feel grateful for it, then yeah, guilt would be a very real thing to follow, for sure. So him trying to lessen it so that he feels less guilty about it, like, would make a lot of sense. But that's why I try to get to the root of it, and I don't classify things as objectively good or not. I go full subjectivist with it. That's my personal coping mechanism. But yeah, that's another conversation, right? There's also the level of like normalcy, which I think was kind of interesting with like him bringing up the normal thing. What I have is pretty normal. I think that's like a direct response to Sodachi saying that like her life was pretty normal, like even with the abuse, right? So she can feel less guilty about appreciating it. You kind of get what I mean? Where he's trying to normalize it so that he can feel less guilty about not appreciating it or appreciate it less, right? But if we can normalize it for her, then maybe we can make it so it's like, that means you can feel okay about it, you know? It almost feels like a direct response in that way. It feels rather unnecessary to go through how everything applies to Aragi here because that's the whole point. True. I mean, yeah, a lot of this is super one-to-one with, or a lot of this does apply onto Aragi really cleanly, especially the split stuff with Ougi. And this is another character, or another comment right here that says it really well. The constant, like, family issues thing. Every character's had family issues. How that is, like, all reflective of Aragi's family issues. I mean, we just got another one of those. I mean, the most intense with Sodachi, right? Out of, like, any of the characters we've met, really. You know, I mean, because, yeah, but, you know, comparing trauma is also hard to do, right? Boom. This I found really interesting. Oh, wait, wait. Give me 1 second. Let me open up my Discord. I took notes in a private thing on my Discord. Let me make sure I'm not missing anything in my notes. Yeah. I started to hate myself for my happiness, is what Aragi says. Not valuing happiness. What is valued? Happy but not satisfied. You overestimate happiness. So, like, what I'm saying there is he started, like, that he doesn't value happiness. So what instead is valued, if not happiness, which is where the distinction between hedonism, aka happiness is the end goal, and the thing that I posited, which is the fulfilling of one's desires, hence that distinction being important, where you can be happy but not satisfied, which then would lead still you to live a bad life in like a doom spiral in some kind of way, which I think is the case for Araragi, where even if he is conceptually happy, that's just causing him more pain because he doesn't feel himself deserving of the happiness, which undercuts it, right? Kind of depends on how you define happiness, how much that idea works. Yeah, because definitions do be kind of crazy. Not enough to blame parents, needs a villain, aka Araragi, to stay intact. That's for Sodachi. Bam. There's a crazy line that's like parents. Well, I'm gonna keep this up on my. I'll get back to that in a minute. That's my like side notes. Let me just finish the comments, and then anything I don't catch here, I'll go back to and catch there. And while we pull up the episode, that'll be the plan. But yeah, I forgot that I literally spent like a while, like 45 minutes probably the other day rewatching, or maybe not. I don't know how long. It was probably about 45 minutes, maybe a little longer. Rewatching the episode. And just taking some notes and just thinking and just sitting there and rewatching the episode. Like no attempt at reaction, so I could just fully lock in. Yeah. But yeah. So this was something I really liked. This was really interesting. Which this is like the linguistics or like the Japanese, like some of the nuance there. I am recording. That's good. And this is how Sodachi uses her parental language, which shows the distinction in how she feels about her father versus her mother. Where she calls her mother the normal way, just mother, but she calls the father male parent. And so like in her wording or in her wording of him, she's like putting that distance in she's denying relation to him. I think that makes a lot of sense. And so it'd be saying like, my mother took custody of me and we left this town. I couldn't care less what male parent is up to right now. So yeah, that does I think have that similar, like it does feel weird, and it does show like, oh, you're not happy with male parent if you're referring to them as male parent, because like the word mother or father has some like it kind of has some like familial, like I don't know, like familial love or like appreciation or just connection built in. And so instead using male parent and being like super almost like clinical with the language or like sterile with the language removes all that familial intimacy, which implies a lot, right? So I think that's really interesting wordage there. Sodachi said, I never once hoped my mother would disappear, I can promise you that, which could be translated as, I never once hoped my mother would disappear, I can only promise you that. I can only promise you that. Ooh, that only is kind of crazy. She keeps arguing with herself, blah, blah, blah. Oh, yeah. Oh, no, this is so true. Where she's just going through so much copium here, right? Everything's fault is my parents, it's all your fault, and then it's all my fault. I can only promise you that represents her personality, that she's completely split, right? And I mean, that's just her desperately lashing out, right? Where has all this hate within her being, so she's just blind firing it at anything she can to keep it away from blind firing at herself, Which, I mean, something like an emotion as strong as hate, to be that volatile makes a lot of sense to me, which is crazy. Bum 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 bum. Sodachi VA's peak, super true, peak media, Hana Clowna, super true. I love the Hana Clowna emote so much. This is a line that I really resonated with, especially like when I thought about it again afterwards, which is the whole like Sodachi being like, I'm aware I have mental problems, or like I'm aware I have psychological problems, which is just a really crazy feeling, right? Currently debating what I want to bring up in regards to this, or if I just want to say it was crazy and leave it at that. Because I mean, like, I'll bring up a little bit. Like, I've definitely had my arcs, like personally, right? Personal anecdote or arcs, right? Where I'm like, dang, I'm kind of messed up. Like, dang, my brain kind of a mess right now, for real, And there's something really weird about that feeling where you finally like admit it to yourself, right? Because then it's like, what do I even do? Like I always, especially if you're like trying to put up a facade of being normal for so long, and then you finally admit to yourself that there is a problem. I mean, as much as it's like the first step to getting better a lot of the time, it's also just, it can be such it can be such a difficult thing to rationalize. Especially if like you're someone like me that kind of has a bit of an ego. So it's like, wait a second, what do you mean I have problems? I'm based. How could I have problems ever? But then actually admitting that like there's something bothering you, it's like, oh dang, like that's really odd, and that's kind of something to parse through. So when she says that, it's like, it's almost to me like it's kind of letting go of the facade, and it's almost like admitting your defeat. Though that's a framing that's kind of dangerous. So like, do be careful with that because you're not defeated to admit that you're having trouble, right? Like, oh, vulnerability isn't defeat, But in the moment, when you're desperately trying to put up some sort of facade, and in Sodachi's case, desperately like throwing out all that hate, all that anger, to admit to yourself that you have psychological problems. I mean, it's almost like you're acquiescing to the thing that you're so fervently trying to avoid, which you're doing through all that deflection. So yeah, that just personally resonated very hard because it's like, dang, it really do be like that sometimes, doesn't it, Sodachi? Literally me, bro. Yeah. I like this framing. Sodachi hates Araragi because she has to. Ouch. Ouch, ouch, ouch. Yeah. The I just love the YouTube emojis so much. They're the goofiest little things. But yeah, Sodachi does not rely on oddities. Her hatred towards the world, Araragi, and herself serves as her driving force. Girl is so consumed by anger that she cannot avert her age. Literally too angry to die. Sodachi the goat. I mean, yes, Sodachi the goat, but also Sodachi the poor, angry child it's all coming out of a place of sadness, right? So it's not like, I feel so bad for her, bro. Though I like the phrasing of girl is so consumed by anger that she cannot avert her gaze. That's a really interesting phrasing where like it's like so many ways to deal with trauma when it's hitting you in the face, right? Like anger, like that being your response makes a lot of sense, and then avoidant behavior makes a lot of sense too. It just kind of has to do with how the person works. So I love that. I just love that. Hanakawa and Sodachi connection works really well. I think I brought that up very lightly, but it is, or I don't remember how much I brought it. I think I brought it up lightly. That like works super well, which is why Hanakawa is the goat for being here, right? Because it means so much coming from her. I really like this connection. Araragi healed both of their right cheek using his blood. Both times he stung his own finger by his safety pin. Wow, what like that's just good parallel. That's just good parallel. Both tried to believe I'm not happy. I'm a normal kid, right? And so, but it's part of realizing that you're messed up that makes it possible to, get fixed, right? You can only because I mean, in the same way that like you have to admit you're thirsty to drink, If you can lead a horse to water but you can't make it drink, the horse has to admit to itself it's thirsty to drink, And in the same way that like Hanakawa has to admit that the cat is a thing going on, that the Tsubasa tiger is her, she has to admit that so that they can be merged into her, And then this kind of the distinction being that between like how them two have kind of what have become of both of them is that Hanakawa could run away while Sodachi couldn't. Such as like what we heard with Hanakawa and her hobbies with like walking around. I think that's how she met Hachikuji too, if I'm recalling correctly. Plus she was and they're relying on the oddities, both especially with like her personal oddities going on. And then Araragi, like both of them had a connection to Araragi, but for Sodachi it was the wrong door, right? With the empty envelope, the wrong door. It didn't work out for her. Whereas for Hanakawa, like Araragi continued to be there, at least there, right? Where she could continue contact with him and still had that dream of him being the hero to come save her, right? Whereas Sodachi instead attempted to put out that branch, failed, and even went back to her abusive household, which then, I mean, it almost reminds me of what we were saying earlier with like the gratitude thing, where it's like, if you make your bed, you gotta sleep in it. I'm sure that's kind of the impression she was feeling, which is just so very sad. Okay, I scrolled too far. Right here. So yeah, Sodachi can't run away even after divorce and being set free from her father. She was the caregiver of her mother and couldn't rely on anyone. Yeah, and her being the caregiver of her mother too is really crazy. Specifically, right? What a just effed situation. What a horrible situation, Where you go, and that's something I had up in my side notes. Let me pull that up. Sodachi is needing to take care of her mother, which then is like specifically taking care of one of her abusers. And yeah, because I know it was kind of a unique situation where her father seemed to be the one doing the most abusing, and Sodachi had kind of rationalized that her mother was only abusive towards her because her father was abusive towards her mother. But even then, like taking care of her mother in that way, I mean, that's sure to just cause all sorts of ramification for Sodachi, you know, which is super sad. The line of like parents can't choose their kids. That was a line somewhere in there. Hopefully I'll find that again. It's just so sad as well. Like, man, it almost makes you think of like a Stockholm syndrome type thing, you know, where she's the caregiver for her abusive mother who's saying things like, "It's your fault," you know, through the whole like parents can't choose their kids. That like, if only I wouldn't have chose you if I could have, you know, to say that it's that like, I mean, that's putting the blame on Sodachi, right? And so that's making her internalize that she doesn't have, that she's not valuable, that she's not worth things, that she, you know, almost, I mean, I would almost want to say that's like internalizing that she doesn't deserve things, and that perhaps she's even deserving of the abuse or something like that, right? If you kind of push that all the way with the abuse. In which case, her ideas of like, Sodachi's ideas of like, happiness would break me, makes a lot of sense, where it's like she feels like she doesn't deserve it, you know? Because she's always been treated poorly, and then even took care of one of the people that treated her poorly, you know? So, it's just horrible. It's just horrible and it's sad. But it's really good writing. Egg, so true. Peak voice acting, very, very true. The scene of Araragi's speech, we're going to watch that again in a minute. Don't you worry. Don't you worry. Another sip of the Dr. Pepper. Peak Araragi, so true, so true. No, literally so true. This line, "You overestimate happiness." What a line, bro. It's not too late. There's a million ways to be happy. Yeah, it's fire. And coming from Araragi, the GOAT. There's hope. There's hope. We're going to have the Araragi good ending. We're going to have the Araragi good ending. I don't know what it's going to look like, but it's not too late. It's just good to hear. And it's just, Araragi, we need to internalize some of this, okay? We need to spin it back onto you, okay? But yeah, we're going to watch that again for sure. We're going to watch that again for sure. The, this thing of the Sodachi voice actor thing is something I have heard about, where they like held the role for her, right? Instead they went with Shinjuga's actual VA, which was quite the breakout for her role at the time. However, they knew they wanted Sodachi's voice actor to play the role of Sodachi and reserved the role specifically for her. And I'm glad they did, because she aced it, bro. Because she aced it. And yeah, some of the like other content, maybe we'll watch some of those one day. There's a lot of like the audio commentaries is something we've talked about before, which is kind of funny. Like a funny idea that maybe one day we'll look at a couple of choice ones or something. Could be fun. Oh yeah, the point of like, Sodachi is hoping for the fact that the math she teaches impacted how Araragi has so much happiness in his life. Right, because I mean, if you can be a person to cause happiness, then maybe that would make you deserving of it, you know? As opposed to just being the kid that is told that parents can't choose their children, you're the reason I'm so miserable, you're the person I hate, I'm going to hurt you, and you deserve it, you know? Instead of that, it's, I actually brought happiness into someone else's life, and that relationship I have with that other person, me uplifting them, perhaps means that by some, like, proxy, you know, kind of part of that transactional thing we've talked about with Araragi, by nature of me raising you up, maybe that means I deserve to be raised up as well, right? Like, defining your own, because, I mean, especially for a kid, like, defining your value in relation to how people around you value you makes a lot of, like, I think that's how kids work a lot of time. And honestly, how people work, period, right? Because if everyone tells you that you're cringe, then you're going to start believing you're cringe eventually, you know? Unless you have a really insanely strong self-concept. But, like, I don't even know if you can have a strong enough self-concept to, like, stop. Like, if you were raised being told you're cringe, it's just GG, you know? So if you're being raised in an abusive household where you deserve, like, where you believe you deserve abuse, or at least don't deserve happiness, then if you can improve someone else's life, perhaps you could use that as a piece of evidence for why your life should be improved as well, or is worthy of being improved as well, right? So yeah. This had some really good stuff in it as well. Also, just another, and I've thrown this out a couple times, but write the big long comments, write that in a little Google Doc or something, a little separate notepad, because sometimes YouTube is cringe and will just delete things randomly or whatever, right? Sometimes it just doesn't, I don't know what happens, maybe auto mod that I don't have on somehow decides, oh, we hate you. But yeah, I don't want people losing their good comments, you know, so a little side doc would probably be smart, right? But clutch that we still got a juicy comment, even if the last one got a little bit, so I'm glad that it worked. Boom. Sodachi was the first character that truly resonated with me, unlike any other character. Her sadness is not on a supernatural level, nor does it involve oddities. Hmm. She definitely resonates with me a lot. I think Hanakawa and Numachi also resonate with me a lot. I wouldn't say she's the first one, but I would count her among the. Honestly, Araragi too. Honestly, I'm gonna throw Araragi on the list too. I think he's starting to hit the point that I'm starting to resonate with him for sure. Like on like a deeper level, other than just like a more like enjoying the character a lot and like immersing into the character, but also like resonating with me as a person. She definitely does, though. Bum, 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 bum. Yeah, and making it normal to like the mundanity of it, which is tied to it not involving oddities, just really really stings. It's easy to say, yeah, and because that's a really interesting point here. The power or like the difference in what that means to the audience, right? Where to the audience, when we don't have oddities going on, when we don't all have all these, magical, supernatural monsters running around, then we can't hide from it anymore. In the same way that Araragi can't hide from it anymore. It's all starting to come out in the stories, right? But in the same way that Araragi can't, like we can't, we're kind of forced to deal with how horrible it is. Whereas with like something like Hanakawa, like you could probably watch the show more casually and have a lot of the like deeper pains kind of get ignored, or you don't truly like realize the severity of a lot of stuff because there's all the oddity stuff going on. I'd be curious about like how different, like how a more casual watch of the show, like how much of that would be picked up on. Probably, I mean, it's not super hidden a lot of the time. Like a lot of it is pretty straight up. I mean, the first arc, Hitagi Crab, is pretty like explicit in how horrible the situation is, right, with Senjo. Um, but to completely remove the fantastical elements really takes away like a lot of the abstract armor that people can put on to defend themselves emotionally, so I thought that was a really interesting point, like how that reflects on the audience. The line of "I'm so brittle, happiness could smash me." Comment says is a line that will never, never leave my head. It's how I felt about myself when I first watched this episode. Yeah, I mean, what a good line. I'll come back to that in a second. I really like this as well, where we can actually see, the light like cover Sodachi more as the episode goes on, which is the dazzling brilliance of happiness. So we see it first with her like half covered there, and then later, like 30 seconds later, she's fully covered. Right when Araragi's speech is like hitting its climax, which is when she would probably be resonating with it the most. So I mean that's just wonderful like visual metaphor for her starting to accept, like be open to the idea of happiness. Um, right here, but instead starting to embrace the light with a genuine listening expression as though she's letting Araragi's words finally sink in. Just bars, just absolute bars. Yeah, that's 100%. This line though, "I'm so brittle, happiness could smash me." Man, it's crazy. It's crazy, and it like how do I describe this? I'm so brittle, happiness could smash me. Cause I've like ah I'm trying to figure out. Let me just go mask off a little bit. I'm trying to figure out like it's always a question I have of like the role of me as the person saying things to an audience, like as like the person making the YouTube video, where I always try to like balance not like being too personal and like getting too real about things, because there's certain lines that like I wouldn't want to cross. Like I wouldn't want to like trauma dumping to the YouTube audience. I don't think would be like very good to do. I think that would be a bit like I feel like that could be problematic, right? Um, and that's to say that this line like really resonates with me in some of the like worst parts of my life. Um, where like so I'll just lightly kind of touch on it, but just to say that I'm apprehensive about like opening up in certain ways, just because of like the nature of the medium in which we're kind of communicating, I guess. That's a lot of words to say things, but the line of like "I'm so brittle, happiness could smash me." I mean, because like I had a phase with a lot of apathy, in my life, right? Where there was also like a degree of not feeling deserving of happiness, and instead like deserving like not good things, to happen. And so that like idea of like why might why was happiness not something on the mind? Like, why was happiness something that was pushed aside, Uh, and so, like, I don't know, just there is such a, like, crazy suffocating power and apathy, you know. And I mean, Sodachi's out here with rage. Sodachi, like, Loki got the opposite, you know, like, not, you know, I wouldn't say apathy for her, but an aversion to happiness combined with, like, other negative feelings is, I think, very realistic, right? And so conceiving it as, like, and so this line of I'm so brittle it could smash me, like, it would break me, because it's kind of the why statement, like, why is happiness not something that the character or, like, the person going through like a troubling event, why do they not feel deserving of happiness, or why don't they want happiness? Where's the aversion to happiness coming from? And it coming out of, like, self-preservation, right, out of being destroyed, is really powerful, right? And it's something I was turning around my head to see if it, like, how much it applied to, like, me personally, because it's definitely, I think it's very applicable to, like, a lot of people in, like, difficult situations, which is really, I mean, really, really potent for the show. Yeah, I don't know. It's just, it's tough to talk about. And there's so much, like stigma around a lot of these subjects too, which makes it even harder to, like, approach. But anyways, it's such a good line that I think to a degree personally relate with, though I'm having, like, it's hard to figure out exactly the nature of these things, because they have to do with, like, the self-concept and, like, what you view yourself as deserving, what you view as not deserving, to make it into a stability and, like, a existence thing where, like, it would hurt me to be happy. It's crazy. I mean, for Araragi, right, like, being not having gratitude and feeling undeserving of happiness, causing, I mean, for him, he said, I've started to hate myself because of my happiness. I mean, that could be part of it, right? That I'm so brittle that happiness could smash me. It's like, I'm so brittle that the self-hatred that would come out of happiness could smash me, you know? It could be like that for sure. I think deserving is such an interesting potential keyword, and kind of how that maps out. But yeah, just goated show. And I do appreciate the kind of personal attachment there. Like, I do appreciate that being shared through the comment. You know, I really appreciate that, the personal connection. The call with Sengoku's at the prologue. Happens at the same time as everything else shown in the prologue, so it is all between the end of Sodachi Riddle and the beginning of Sodachi Lost. After Hanakawa brings up the question of how did Oikura know your parents were police officers, she suggests he asked his parents. From there, he learns Oikura was at his home, and makes all those connections. So yeah, because I was a little confused on when that call had happened, because I remember there was, like, another call previously, but that's just to show that, like, that took place then. That's good to know. It is. Wait, so. So he does talk to his parents. She suggests he asks his parents. From that, he learns Aquaria was at his home. Bro, show me the phone call with your parents. I want to see the phone call with your parents, Araragi. Like, excuse me? But of course, he's going to cut that out. That's just the Araragi special right there. As for Araragi's parents didn't do more for Ikura, I like to imagine that they were merely suspicious of problems at home and didn't have evidence to justify taking any action. That's kind of crazy too, where it's like a lack of evidence, which I would almost want to say like a lack of legal evidence, is perhaps why they felt like they couldn't take any action, because of their strict relation to the concept of justice, right? That through not having evidence as per, like, the law, they couldn't do anything. Their hands were bound from helping her, even if they kind of knew something was wrong, that they weren't able to check the right boxes to make it, to, like, actually cause something to happen, right? Which is because she needed help, right? She was in an abusive situation, and, you know, but because of a lack of evidence, the police officers were not legally supposed to help, you know? And so even they did well by getting her to stay at their house for a little bit, but the lack of evidence meant they couldn't follow up, right? That justice had bound their hands, which, I mean, is almost just another, like, I could see Araragi having trouble with that, right? Where it's like their ties to justice stopped them from helping Sodachi, you know? Like, that's a pretty tough thing to rationalize. The fact that Araragi stresses his parents didn't get any trouble for having her stay at her house sounds like they weren't using any police authority to do this, and could have been in trouble had any complaints been made about Aquara missing. But Aquara parents obviously wouldn't want to file such an report. This is very true as well, right? But yeah, I don't think they were using police authority, because, and that's, I think, exactly what kind of binds them from taking any, like, strong action, you know? Which is just brutal. And the connection back to Hanakawa is pretty interesting as well. That like we actually get to see Mamaragi there. That like to almost think that she doesn't like right here. Mamaragi doesn't want another victim just returning to her abusers, leaving her with no way to help. She's already dealt with this before with Okura. It's like I don't want this to happen again, you know. So for to that just recontextualizes the Hanakawa interaction in such a more in such a tragic way, right? Almost there. Two left. Anger is a means of cope. Super real. Ram bum bum. Coping mechanisms, delusion as a means to aversion. The unique situation is that she's quite self-aware with it. Hence the like, I feel like I have a lot of psychological issues thing. And even has some more information about like a enjoyable life, a happy life that causes her to be even more tormented. Perhaps in some ways, ignorance would have been bliss. Super true. Aram bum bum. And yeah, you say it here at the end, but the words like light and burning for like the vampirism thing does work really well in this context. Into the idea of emotional / energy vampires, where they're quite taxing to be around. I mean, she is kind of an emotional vampire in that I'm sure it would be really emotionally draining to like interact with her. And that's not to say we shouldn't interact with her. I would say quite the opposite, is that she deserves help, right? And that we should try to help her. But yeah, it easily becomes a trap by not truly knowing the sheer diversity of the human condition from limited experience. Happiness is such a shiny concept for such a dirty life. Yeah, okay. This kind of thing, right? Dirty becomes comfortable, right? Where if you've always lived in abuse, you've always lived in filth, you've always lived in such a way that you're not happy and that you're not deserving of happiness, then to jump into a happy life, I mean, fear of the unknown, that's going to be completely like overwhelming, right? And that's kind of, I think, part of the like plasticity and ability to internalize that humans have, that bring in that dirty life or the abuse into someone's identity and being, to the point of, if we were to bring in something happy, something shiny, then we would be burning ourself, right? To get rid of all the abuse would be destroying part of ourself, because guess what? That's part of who we are, you know? At least that idea, right? Not to say that that's necessarily true, but that being how it feels makes a lot of sense, which is just really sad, right? And for it to be happiness that hurts your being is, I think, very counter to like how a lot of people would think, you know, because a lot of people think happiness is like all that matters, right? Yeah. And that, yeah, but at least push the compassion that Araragi and Hanakawa share is literally priceless. So true. No, so true. And like Hanakawa's emphasis on repetition, I assume you're meaning like we're going to come back tomorrow and the next day we're going to keep checking on you because we pester people we like, you know, that kind of thing, where you can't just one and done these things. You can't just help somebody once and then call it GG. Araragi, low key, a little bit. Maybe you can push that towards where you don't just have one. Well, we cured the oddity. Onwards and onwards. You know, that's not enough. And though honestly, he does like still phone chat with a lot of these people, like a lot of the characters a lot. So I think he does kind of check up on people. But they're kind of, you know. So maybe we shouldn't push on Araragi too strongly, but for Hanakawa to bring that up as like a way to treat Sodachi is, I think, perfect as well. But yeah, more on this next time. Ooh, exciting. And then this is just saying the like the similarities between Sodachi, Tsubasa, and Kiyomi, which like in their problems, right, in the problems they have, which I mean is exactly, I mean, because yeah, we were talking about that with Sodachi and Araragi a lot, right? Or no, Sodachi and Hanakawa a lot. And then we can kind of bring that in with Araragi and his parents. Though it is a little tough to bridge it all the way to Araragi for sure. Like a lot of it bridges really well to Araragi. But like especially a lot of the like heavy abusive elements. Those work really well with Hanakawa, though to extend that to Araragi would be really, really difficult and probably not good to do. But yeah, there is a lot of overlap in the three of them. At least in kind of in a broader sense of how what their relationships with their parents are like, you know, like the problems that came out of like familial relations, parental relations, that kind of deal, right? But yeah, okay, let's scroll through the episode. Woo! Let me crack the neck a little bit. Okay, let me pull up my notes as well. Make sure I didn't miss anything. Oh yeah, this was something so good. Let me pull this up to start. 2039. There's no happiness heavy enough to rip you apart. So this is Araragi spit in bars, right? Wait, where is it? You overestimate happiness. Where's the shot? Where's the shot? Trust. Maybe it's a little early. Yeah. I think it's right here. It's right here, right? Okay, so this shot, by the way, this segment is one of the best segments I think I've ever seen in the show. Like this 2027 area. Where she says it's too late for that, and that causes Araragi to like jump in, right? I mean, he even hovers on that phrase "too late" for a moment there, and this just the papers coming in. I feel like we've never seen even close to this many before, right? We've never seen like 8 in a row. Then when wouldn't have it been too late? Was it already too late? Long before then, for my childhood friend, is everything too late in the past, unable to be undone, changed, or remedied? No, it isn't. We can do it. Oh, but this shot right here. Look, dude, you can see both of his eyes. Like, more clearly than I feel like we normally can. Like, that really cuts through to me, where we get a full look at, like, both pupils, because so often is he covering up one of those, kind of half in the conversation, half out, a little bit, hiding behind, like, allegory or perversion or whatever. But in this moment, after this intense thought pattern that we get to like go through with him, both of the eyes are revealed, bro. Oh my goodness. I just love that so much. But yeah. Let me go through my notes. Hate myself for my happiness. Cognitive dissonance, blah blah blah. Sodachi needing to take care of her mother. She prayed that I would she says that thing about praying right here. Right. I prayed that I would never wish for my mother to disappear. And she repeats that over and over and over, which shows like how desperate she is for that to be the case. And I think that's her trying to distinguish herself from her parents, right? Where she's resolving that she only views her mother positively and she wouldn't want her mother to disappear, which I would imagine that that's in contrast to previously how her parents wanted her to disappear and didn't want her to be here. Parents can't choose parents can't choose their children, or whatever the line, right? And so she's desperate to like separate herself from her abusers, in wishing that they will be better, or that in wishing that they won't disappear, right? Which is again just horribly sad, just horribly sad. But that's I think a thought we can have there. Clean house now is in contrast to her last house being filthy. It's defined only by the past. Anyone could have this happen to them. I already said this, but Sodachi's saying anyone could have this happen to them, to which Araragi replies, my happiness is normal. So anyone could have happiness happen to them as well. So you're part of anyone. You can have happiness happen without breaking, right? Like that's kind of the argument. There's another shot I specifically wanted to pull up here. Look at this crazy freaking shot. If it's kind of hard to see because like maybe you're watching the YouTube instead of the pit, which is fine, by the way. Give me that watch time. Delicious. Right here. Endless mumblings about how parents can't choose their kids. And look at this shot of this owl. This freaking owl hovering over her like this. I mean, it almost feels like that's the parent, right? That's like the shadow of the abuse, you know? The shadow of expectation just weighing down on her like that. And I don't have like... we had a conversation in the Discord about the owl like symbology, though I'm not recalling it off the top of my head. But just this, like, just the framing of this, where her head's down and there's something oppressing onto her as she's saying that parents can't choose their kids. I feel like that's just reflective of how over and over she's heard that phrase and it's beaten her down, right? Which is just also just super sad. But yeah, that shot was just incredibly striking to me, which is brutal. And man, her saying, "Thankfully, Japan is relatively wealthy." She's like trying to be polite and show gratitude, but it's just like it just don't work, man. Of course, as I think we talked about last time, like she's trying to push blame onto other people instead of herself because, I know, we talked about that a lot. I won't get into that again. There was a really great, how do I show this? Wait, okay, my thing might freak out right here. Okay. I think this is fine. So yeah, this was, we were talking about, okay, wait, this is kind of, okay, Discord message highlight. Woo! We're really hitting new ground now. Hopefully, wait, how far am I in the recording? I actually gotta write this timestamp down so I don't forget this. Okay, 112. 112. I gotta put that in my notes. 112. Okay, perfect. But yeah, okay. So one of the things, one of the phrasings that I thought was interesting as well in the last episode was her wordage of seduce, because she was saying like, in regards to like her pride here, um, I threw away all my pride to flatter you. I was so ashamed that I had to seduce someone like you into helping me. That word of seduce, I was kind of like, I in the moment was thinking like, okay, that has some interesting implications on like any like romantic or sexual, definitely more like childhood crush romantic for sure. But I was like, that has like some interesting implications in English. Is that always also something in Japanese, to which the word in Japanese has. Thank you, by the way, Yusuke. I'm so bad at pronunciation, but thank you for the message, by the way. Similar to seduce, that the word used had two meanings. One of them involving those connotations while the other doesn't, and the slight difference lies in the nuances of those other meanings. Their seduce can also mean to convince someone to do something they probably shouldn't do, which tends to have more negative connotations. The Japanese alternative meaning doesn't have those negative aspects, however, and more accurately means something like laying yourself bare in order to convince someone of something. What the example given in one Japanese dictionary was a child trying to get their parents to pay for something. This thing right here, laying yourself bare in order to convince someone of something, that feels really applicable to Sodachi, right? Where she's like, well, it's kind of different. Like laying oneself bare, that just to me is just desperate, you know. Where you're throwing all you have at something in order to convince, which does feel like that level of desperation does, I think, come through a lot with what happened with her. And then this says, personally, I think that is leaning that Sodachi tried to sexually / romantically entice Koyomi, but it's also entirely possible to take it from the pure humiliation angle, or even both. Yeah, I would say that there's an element of both, which I really find interesting. Definitely more with the romantic thing. And the reason I think that's significant is that, like, I've kind of always had a wonder about Araragi. Like, so many of the characters in the show are female. If not every single character other than, like, Kaiki and Oshino. I mean, what other male characters? Oh, I guess, Tadatsuru, right? But other than the balancers, we, like, don't get male characters, like, at all, right? And so, like, I do wonder, and Araragi, he has two younger sisters, and then they brought over friends, and he didn't really make friends with people otherwise, right? So I do wonder if there's like a reading we can do of like Araragi's like expectations or views of gender, you know, and like how that applies where he only sees, where like all we see is girls, right? If there's kind of that, like that being a deeper characterization of Araragi, or if that's more of just the anime likes having girl characters and is kind of playing to the harem trope a little bit and like subverting that. Like we could spin it there, but I also do wonder if that we can apply that onto Araragi. I don't really have any strong ideas for that yet, but that's always something I've kind of had in the back of my head. And so for her to be attempting to seduce him, like let's say like childhood crush romantically, like I think it does kind of lean into the whole like, because like the whole like gendered area, right? Because Araragi, as far as I can tell, is a straight dude that's into girls, you know. So for him to have not seen that, and for that to have been, I mean, that's even like with Hanakawa, that's like another Hanakawa connection too, you know. Like another similarity between her for Sodachi and Hanakawa. They're really similar. It's just Sodachi got kind of the bad ending, right? Where Hanakawa kind of got the better ending. She's kind of at the good ending after post Tsubasa Tiger. She kind of had the good ending. That's my goat right there. So, I don't know. I just thought that was really kind of an interesting thing as well. But yeah, okay. We're gonna do a little scroll through. Wait, what did Hanako ask you? Oh, how did Akira know about the parents? Right, and so we got that extra context. This is so incredibly sad. She just sits in the corner out of the way, bro. I bet she was doing that all the time at home. She was just sitting in a corner trying to not be noticed. Horrible. So very sad. And she goes back home. Our version of a family. Yeah, very sad. Okay. Then the great OP. We kind of talked about that a little bit. Her struggling with language. Poor Sodachi. Got to get those vocal cords ready. But yeah, okay. The blood healing is pretty sweet. It's crazy because last time didn't he do it with Hanakawa? He like flipped her skirt or something to throw her off, like from having to talk about the abuse, like getting hit, and then kind of did it. I don't remember exactly how he did it, but it just feels similar to Sodachi here, right? Which I really like. Okay. We've been yapping about this episode for a long time, so I am not entirely sure if I have much more to add, to be completely frank. Rum bum bum. The shame element. Man, and that sucks for Araragi too. That's really sucks for Araragi. Where like he thought it was genuine, you know? The little math fairy. But she views that same time with such a different perspective, which is so like so much more miserable, you know? It's just yeah. Like that sucks for both of them. Like to hear how ashamed she was of how she interacted with you, like how can that not feel like your fault, you know? But Araragi's used to being a punching bag, right? I guess usually it's more of a physical punching bag rather than this, but and it's crazy. She says, I want to disappear, but she was so desperate to not want her mother to disappear. So she's like quicker to push it on herself than to push it on her parent. She's quicker to push it onto herself as the abused child than to the abuser, the parent, her mother. Like that's crazy. And then, yeah, I don't know, man. Yeah. Uh, the T move. But yeah. What happened to the mother? I already threw out like one crazy hypothetical earlier. Of course, with like her having potentially died. Because I mean, even she was well, how did okay, mother disappeared. Yeah, I mean, she could have just left, but who's to say, right? This next episode, we might be getting the answer to this, right? Or maybe Araragi will have to die first. Yeah. It's just so much copium in the saddest way. Everyone has it like this. I'm not actually that unfortunate. Don't you understand? It's not that bad. Look how clean my place is. I just have to accept it. Like it's like she's running through the self-help book, right? But twisting the phrases that would actually be helpful into me through her lens, right? I have to accept my experiences because many others have it just as hard. You know, it's like she's just adding little parts that kind of subvert it into being harmful. You know, I have to have gratitude for even being alive. I mean, bro, I literally said that earlier today. Bro, somebody asked me how I was doing, and I said, my heart's beating. I'm here. I'm alive. That's a win, you know? And that's more of a deflection with humor. And my diet has not been that bad, right? Not even comparable to anything like this. Well, there goes, here we go comparing. But, yeah, like, just, like, showing, like, a base level of gratitude of just being alive as a way to avoid having to think about the harder troubles. I mean, that's real. And she like fully excuses him as much as possible from helping her, you know? Yeah. And then Hanakawa the goat. Araragi thinks to himself, we have no choice but to go home. And then Hanakawa the goat, you can literally hear him start to say something, and then Hanakawa the goat comes in with a crazy line of thinking to complete low-key. Maybe none of this even matters with the key nonsense, and she just threw it in to throw her off. But you know what really happened? Bro, Hanakawa heard the story, and like the goat she is, she put that ace up her sleeve, and then it was like, I'm only gonna throw this out if I need it, when I need it. Cause she's smart, bro. She did that with Ougi previously, right? Where she could have immediately been like, after she said the story about her house, she could have immediately been like, okay, like let's dive into it. But no, she kept that and let her Sodachi spin, right? Let Sodachi speak her truth before jumping in. I mean, what a good, like, that's active listening, bro. That's smart, right? Because, yeah, and I do think there is something really valuable about letting Sodachi, like, get her catharsis from letting this all out. She even admits to Araragi, like, it's nice getting this off my chest, something in here, right? Which even like while she's saying how much she wants him to leave, she does admit that a little positively. So like that is valuable. I do like that. Okay. Is there anything else I'm trying to talk about here? Um, the shadow stuff was great. The they beat me even more, but only where my clothes would hide it. That's one of the like most horrible lines I think I've read in like the last year at least. Like in so much fiction. I mean that is such a because it's real. It's that level of like character immersion that I mean I wouldn't even think about like you would have to literally think to yourself about how to abuse someone so that they wouldn't like the logistics of abuse. Like that's what that's saying, right? Which is something that like I wouldn't even think to know how to start conceiving, right? That oh, I want to hurt this poor kid, but I don't want to be caught. I don't even think that far because I'm not a guy that abuses people, you know? So for that to be part of the show, like, that just pushes it one line further where it's like, I didn't even consider that. Like, I didn't even consider that somebody would hurt somebody only in places that would be hidden so that they can keep getting away with hurting them. So that, like, full, committal to the abuse in a way that like shows an understanding of how that functions, I think only adds to how horrible it is, which then makes it like work better as a piece of media, right? Where people couldn't see it, you know? Yeah. So very sad. Did she sleep in the bathroom, bro? Like, what is this shot of her next to a shower drain? But yeah. And then it's like fate is playing with her by giving Araragi back to her. You know? It's like my mother said. If she had a different child, life would have been better. Yeah. And that victim blaming. Man, it's that smile. It's the smile. It's whenever someone smiles while saying they hate themselves, where it's like the admitting of the self-hatred at least gives you a sense of control because at least you can choose to hate yourself, you know? And that being a positive response in the midst of all this like horrible, you know, in the midst of the depths. That's real. But yeah. Her actress is nuts. What have I done to deserve this? Yeah. Oh, and you can see how much Adaragi relates. You can see how much it's connecting for Adaragi. And she's so desperate that to the person that she hated so much, she's reaching out to like this. Because maybe she can get some self-value through the happiness that she might have contributed to him. And that's crazy. She says the slightest contribution to your happiness, she's unaware of how much the math meant to him. Like how much that was like a root for him, a foundation for him to stand on when everything else fell from him. Like it was incredibly impactful, right? But she's so unaware that she's only asking for the slightest contribution, like completely unaware that that was like a rock for him. Dang! And then Hanako comes in with the line. You can lead a horse to water. Give me a thirsty horse. And the perfect setup for the perfect Hanakawa line. I just want to see the full Adaragi line here. Correct answer, by the way, saying correct answer because with math, there's always a correct answer. That's what makes math so fun, or at least in the math that I understand. Getting quantum with it, I got no idea. But yeah, such a good line. My eyes blinded, my body ripped apart. That even if it's the answer, I don't know if I have the strength to solve to get that answer. It's too heavy an equation, bro. I just want to survive. Let me just let me just stay because it's worked. Yeah. And man, and then This shot looks so much like Kombaru, doesn't it? Somebody said that in the Discord. I completely agree. She looks a lot like, and the Kombaru connection with Kombaru's mother as well is like something we could try to get into. Though it's a bit harder for me off the top, right? I don't want to be happy anymore. That's like what Aragi's saying. But Aragi, don't you see when it's happening in somebody else, you jump in, you know? That means you gotta apply that to yourself too. You gotta internalize that. Man, this is like poetry, dude. I think this is actually poetic to me. Like this segment here. I'm actually tearing up a bit just watching this segment. Like where would you start it? Like when wouldn't have it been too late? How does this go? Then when wouldn't it have been too late? Was it already too late long before then? For my childhood friend, is everything too late in the past, unable to be undone, changed, or remedied? Just that much is so, like, this phrase of, is everything too late in the past, unable to be undone, changed, or remedied? That's just such like a heartfelt saying of that phrase. The phrasing is just so heartfelt to me, right? Where it's like, it really sounds like somebody at the end of their rope, and they're really having to ask themselves if everything's too late, like if there's anything left in the past to be fixed, or if it really is over, you know? So yeah, just the wording of that really, really works for me. And then Araragi says, no, we can do it. That's my boy. That's my boy. This is why I put my stocks in Araragi. He normalizes it, because then she can swallow the pill, right? It's just, listen, thirsty, just listen, horse. The water isn't even that tasty. It's just lukewarm water. Just drink it. Just drink the water. You overestimate happiness. Because yeah, even when you're happy, you can still be kind of miserable sometimes, you know? But that does, so just might as well be happy then. Oh, and the soft piano music. Oh. Don't hate this part right here. Don't hate happiness. Don't hate the world. Don't hate everything. Don't hate yourself. Oh. Love yourself. And then this, bro. You can hate me as much as you like. Love yourself at least as much as I used to love you. Man, you can hear his hands clench when he says that he's very happy. He can't help but. And maybe we see both of his eyes again. Oh, it's so good. The true Araragi shone through for a minute there. And Hanakawa says, that's my goat. And look how she's looking side to side. She's not looking at them. She's not even letting us, or like we're not even seeing her eyes as the audience. Because we know she internalized it, but we have to take our time, right? Yeah. I'm just going to finish out the episode, then we'll jump into the next one. And Hanakawa the goat will be back tomorrow, the day after 2, and also on the weekend. But pestering the people we like is what we do, because we like you, and you don't gotta. Even if you don't like yourself, we'll like you, and hopefully through us liking you, you can internalize some of that, right? In the same way that that all that abuse would be internalized, right? Like, let's replace that with love. Look at that heartfelt. Look at that heartfelt right there. And she just says, okay. Oh. Sodachi. Sodachi. I love this character. And look at that! She stands up and looks us in the eyes. She has a new fight in her, bro. She's got a new fight in her. And then she makes an Araragi shutter click sound, though it sounds a little different. But she got a new fight in her. Looking at us straight up, no aversion, no delusion, no hate, just honesty, bro. Taking credit, right? I'll apologize. That's taking responsibility for your past actions and then making a decision to do better, right? Responsibility, bro. Sodachi the goat. So good. Let's jump into another one. Oh, Owari 7. It's Sodachi lost. It's still going. Okay, so man, are we gonna find her mom? Is that what we're gonna look for? Could be interesting. How many more Sodachi lost are there? Because there's 13. I kind of assumed that we're close to the end of Sodachi lost. Like Loki, I could have seen that last episode of being the conclusion to the chapter or to that like collection, right? That arc. So yeah. Let's jump into this episode, I suppose. I'll have another sip of my Dr. Pepper to stay jaffinated. You can have a sip first. But yeah, we'll jump into this episode. Should be very, very exciting. Episode 7 of Owarimonogatari. I've accidentally just clicked on the word Lost. And it opened up Lost the TV show. Okay. I need to like turn that off for Pop Player, bro. I'm sick of accidentally looking up things when I'm clicking on the screen. Okay. Focus. Sodachi, my beloved. Episode 7. Right at the start. Let's get this going. In a 3, a 2, a 1. Bang! Sodachi's goal. What does she want to know? Ooh. Debrief time. Let's get some information. Let's figure out what we know and what we don't know. Is that Ougi? Get away from us! Oh, her little shadow. Dude. You're not invited. Yo, you don't gotta be that mean, bro. I felt that I should have come here. Are you doing the... What are you doing? Stop doing... Okay. Oh, no. Stop being so mean, bro. Man, it's starting with Ougi's shadow over them is fire. You're gonna scoop between them? Bro, rude. With your udders? No. What does that mean about you, Araragi? What does that mean about you? If Ougi's holding that? Bro, why are you getting all up on Hana like that? But because I allowed you to steal him with your breasts? Dude, okay. I just gotta focus. That's what I've been thinking! I thought it would go horribly wrong! Oh, you're up on him, bro. Bro, it's like a part of Araragi regretting doing all this with Sodachi. He's regretting showing so much of himself like that. Which is why he's like coming in and attacking through Ougi kind of deal. Let's see. The little cutout? Bruh. What? Obviously. Yeah? You little oddity, you. Wait. Oh, no, okay, we've seen this one. I thought it was new for a split second. I know it's Sodachi lost, but I just got scared. I thought Ougi's face was about to jump at me in the OP, bro. Get out of here, Ougi. We just had a nice episode. Get out of here. I love this OP, man. Man, so is it like... If we see... Like, Ougi as Araragi's subconscious kind of deal, right? That whole thing we've yapped at about a million times. Then Ougi being this mean to Hanakawa is real reflective of Araragi, right? In like a really sad way. Sodachi my goat. I love these OPs. We'll need to do an OP tier list at some point. That'll be fun. Right at the end. We'll see. Our own formula, the one which proves us. Just, damn. Freaking Ougi. What would happen if it was Ougi that pulled up to Sodachi's place? Nothing good. Araragi would have left feel it miserable. Sodachi lost part 3. All right. Well, if you're gonna be right about it, then let me hear it. I can try to support my elders. Shut up. You're like 1 year below us in the or something. Yeah. Stop objectifying her. Yeah. Stop groping her. Dude, Ougi. Ougi got them like UFO beams. Out. Yeah, okay, Araragi. Araragi's attempting. Okay, good move, Araragi, I guess. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. I'm hoping. That pulls the pressure off of Hanakawa. Hanakawa looks uncomfortable, bro. But Hanakawa built different. She used to this. No, I'm allowed to be silent. Sometimes not yapping is the most powerful way to yap. You ever thought about that? Shut up, Ougi. You're a monster. You're a monster, Ougi. Whatever we call the truth? What a line. Okay, so it's probably fine when her mother's probably safe somewhere happy. But happiness isn't the end all be all. But like we still want happiness. We'll see. Stop doing the massage gesture. Hanakawa may be forced to admit defeat by Ougi. I don't want Hanakawa to have to do that. Something like that. Ooh. Goat! Yes! 10 seconds? Time limit? They're just gonna fight. She's just gonna swing on Ougi, bro. She doesn't even have to say anything, bro. What? She's just leaving. She's just running away. Water? Drink up. Dunk in the head. Shower time. Shower time. More. More. So much liquid. Oh, the goat! The hair dye. The hair dye. The hair dye. Damn. She said, let me reveal my true power level. Hanakawa is thinking. Hanakawa is thinking. Big, 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 big. She got it. She won. I don't know. How did you win? Dang, I love you in this hair. This hair. Ooh, how do you know what you know? How do you know what you know? She just had to give a few seconds of pure no hair dye thought. That's real. Damn. Glass house. Hmm. Okay. What does that even mean? We can't tell her it's bad? Yeah, I kind of agree. I'm kind of worried. I think you would have told her whatever the truth was. The truth is Don't spoil the fool. Yeah, Ougi. Look at her go, no matter how much time passes. You little leading questions. A truth that makes you sick. The moment you hit upon it. Red scene, red scene. The worst truth I can imagine. Hint 1. That's what I'm saying! I'm crazy! Yeah. Didn't think about that. I mean, did what? Sodachi? Oh, and then he could have locked when he left, but like, yeah. The first answer is not gonna be the right one from Araragi. I was thinking suicide, you know. Hint 2, please. Yep, it's a duo game. It's a game. What? What else did we mistake? In what way? In what way? In what way? About her being the true abuser or something? She still is. No. Yeah. Yeah, they could have died within it, and then we blocked it out. Come on. Or, come on, please. No. Yeah, that's just goofy. That's goofy. That's a great question. I don't have an answer to that one. High five. Even if you had picked it your partner. Huh? I don't know. Hint 5. I lost hint 5. Okay. On a certain day. What do you mean on the day before? Did she starve because she wasn't helped enough or something? I don't know. I was thinking suicide. I don't even know. These hints are driving me crazy. Yes. Well, I don't want to be happy about it, but yeah. Starvation. That would be a means. That would be a means. Oh, okay. Well, how are we gonna do with the hints? I can't take it. She stopped leaving the corner of the room. She didn't eat. She didn't listen. She was already dead. Right, or something. Oh my goodness, this is too much. Are we gonna go up to 40? I'm gonna lose it. Because what did the middle school really take care of their reclusive parents for years? She wasn't able to take care of her properly. Is that kind of what the thing is? Yeah. How long was she dead for? Did she like disintegrate? Did her body naturally get eaten by rats or something? Oh my goodness. Yeah. Bro, Araraki kind of dumb. You really need all 40, bro. Or 50? Oh, he's about to crack it. Good job, Araragi. Yeah. Or are you? Yeah. So she didn't block it out. It just straight up, she was dead for that long. I see. Man, imagine all the food not getting eaten. Or like, I don't even know, man. It would just be a mess of food, rotting food in that room. It's horrible. That's so horrible, by the way. She slowly disappeared. Yeah. Though, what was the nature of her starvation? Because she didn't eat. She chose not to eat, right? Frog in boiling water. Wow. Ogi, you're wrong for that. You're wrong for that analogy. She evaporated? That's so bad. Her body was thrown away with garbage. And Oki's like, that's kind of what. Okay, 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 okay. Similar to, but different. I think that's fair. I think that's a fair distinction. Very. Bars. Super applicable to Araki. Man, for Oki to be like, this is good to tell to Sodachi, that's insane. It'll make Sodachi happy? Are you joking? Pretending to not understand something? Honakawa? Honakawa? Now I have to see her. I was oblivious to her. Damn! Those hints were too much, bro. That was so stressful. Once she gets the hang of it. Huh. Wow, we can both grow. I like that. I like that idea, even if the application of it is really crazy right now. Let's have a study session. The two of us are limitless fools, but let us become wise together. Dude, this show writes like poetry sometimes. Ogi, Ogi. Ogi's eyes are covered in that shot. Oh, this is kind of really scary. Yeah? You're gonna epilogue the punchline? You're gonna use that. Dude. Dude. What happened to her? Oh, she's transferring away. When I'm the only one around. Don't cut it out, bro. Auto-argue. I'm trying to hear that. Okay, please crash again. I don't believe you necessarily, but fair. I mean, she didn't come intrude, so. Hmm. I guess engaging with it is positive in a sense, yeah, but it's just what a horrible situation. Yeah. True. True. She was cast so well too. You're a comedian, Ogi. Uh, talking about Hachikuji? Who are you talking about? I think you're talking about Hachikuji, right? The first round is a training session anyway. Jeez, what a crazy thing to say. Huh. I'm coming for you. Yeah. It's just gonna get worse. The future is shrouded in darkness even when the sun is up. What a line. Bro, she's just leaving just like that? Where are you going? He's kind of worried about that. Yeah, that thought crossed the mind. Wonder if we're gonna see Oshino in the dead realm. That'd be kind of funny. Or in like the Hachikuji darkness realm, you know? Hey, Oshino, what's up? You got a mail. Oh, Senjuga said that. Sodachi came to forgive. That's sweet. Yeah. The staple. I'm sorry you're worried. I'll give you lots of deep kisses on our next date, okay? Deeply addicted to your kiss. You got me. Yours better half. Wait, that was from Sodachi? Yeah, what a callback. What's is anything in this one? Wow, yeah. You gotta show me what's in this, dude. You gotta show me what's in this. Vanishing unheralded. Yeah, she actually left a message this time. Unlike her mother, right? She fully like got out. You're not gonna tell me, bro. Aw. You little rat. Okay, that's a win. I think that's a win. That's a win. I take those. I take those. She got out. That's kind of. I think that's kind of the idea, right? She got out. Oh, is this one different? You were supposed to be with me forever. Wait, is that different? What is happening? Oki, why are you looking at me like that? Wait, I don't remember if this is the same or different. I'm just tripping. I'll have to look. Because at least this part's the same because Hanakawa jumps Ogi. So yeah, I take that as a... Well, okay. Sodachi's out of my show now? Is that what you're telling me? Because that's not fair, by the way. You can't just bring in that much of a good character and then have them leave in like 7 episodes. 5 episodes. Oh, no, 7 episodes because the war or the riddle, right? But I mean, like she held all her promises. She, you knew how I felt, even when I said nothing. She held her promises, and separated herself from her mother, in giving a like a leave of absence, right? Message from Sodachi says under the desk, yours better half. That's just such a crazy send off. Like, better half being like both. Because, I mean, that's like. I mean, that's both kind of referential to the Adaragi Ogi split and then also to the different splits of the Sodachi, but then also is like a affectionate, like, mutual empathy, you know, between the two of them or whatnot. Or that she pushes out, right? That she's willing to like say that they're two parts of the same whole kind of thing. It is funny. He chooses to show maturity. What he does is doesn't rip the envelope open. Like what a kind of like half-hearted show of maturity, you know? That for her like her maturity is leaving behind an envelope with a message with a goodbye, which is different than her mother had done. And different than what she had done previously. So that's like a very like strong action to show that. It's interesting. So it's red light. She's standing here, and then it's green. Okay, and then she just crosses. Okay, and she seems at peace. She does seem at peace here, so I take that as a win for sure. Um, Not much had changed, but at least something had. I'm just man, the whole like revealing the mother thing. I'm just so like she seemed to have at least taken that well, and it was more so just like she kind of knew it was the case, but didn't want to like fully connect that to herself, right? But man, that's just stressful to bring up, you know. Like if I'm Hanakawa there, man, this distinction is crazy too, right? Like the difference from losing the will to live and then suicide. I mean, that's kind of I feel like the discussion we've had with Adaragi, right? Where like as far as the will to live is gone, that doesn't or is lacking in a lot of times, and like that's clued into like his lack of self-worth in response to things, right? That doesn't mean that he's actively pursuing death, which is how we usually describe suicide, you know. um and so I kind of so what happened was she she stopped eating as a result of her divorce, right? And so like and then wasted away and like lost the strength to eat or continue and then died. So she stopped taking care of herself, and that killed her, as opposed to actively carrying out her own death. At least she had. At least I was right in guessing she died in the room. At least I got that much. I take that as a win. Yeah, and the stopped responding when she spoke to her. So she was dead. She was taking care of a corpse, bro. Man, and Ougi says, "Oh, she go feel real happy about this one." Yeah. And the whole like, no sane person would think this. Holy crap. Real. We can't tell this to Ikura-san. I think you would have told her whatever the truth was. But I think your attitude will change once you hear it. His attitude didn't change. No, he still went to tell the truth immediately. Don't spoil the fool. Yeah. And that's such an Ougi thing to do, to give 50 hints. Just to provoke it, because it's about him saying it, you know? Yeah. It's so hard to think that, like whether or not we should tell Sodachi is such a difficult, insane question. But I guess for closure's sake, I can understand it, you know? Like, he's at least resolved to follow it through, if nothing else, you know? For better or for worse. And for Ougi to not follow him in, I think is very important, where Araraki goes in alone, he doesn't bring, like, the dark shadow Ougi with him. Yeah, like it being a private matter just between the two of them. And no, it might start to hate you even more. No. We're already past that. Yeah, no, we're already past that. Man, and then it is pretty wild. He says, though my experience is a little more than hers, I'll teach her to be happy, and then she'll teach me to be happy in return. Like, that is a back and forth thing that he arranges, as opposed to purely charitable. That's, I think, an important distinction. At least we figured out what happened to the mom. We were kind of on that one, though, I'm not gonna lie. That's cooking with gas, bro. That's cooking with gas, bro. Let's have a study session. But let us become wise together. Man, Araraki is just a poet when he wants to be. So what does Ougi say here? Because it's crazy. Ougi looks nervous. Ougi looks worried running up. Will you repay your debt with further injury? And look, we don't even see Ogi's eyes here. I feel like I've never seen Ougi panic like this. He doesn't even respond. But yeah, I guess injury is in relation to, like, he's telling her this. Maybe there's like a level of thinking that she'll leave after he tells her this, which will then stop. Like, because he doesn't want people to leave, right? Like, he's being abandoned by so many people. So to lose his childhood friend by telling her this information, like, who's being injured here? If you're injuring her, then repaying her by injuring her is just conceptually kind of wild. That I just don't know if I can even parse that, you know? Him saying, now for the epilogue, or rather the punchline, you really followed me out of Kiyomi with this, ho? You really? I've been hearing this all night. I've been hearing this like 12 times, 13 times in a row. And so to just jump into this was crazy. And neither of them remember. And then I think our deal had to be scrapped. Is that to go over and over? It's so sad to me because Hanakawa and her really did click. But she seems to be... Look, she's fully in the light, right? So I feel like she's fully... And she's being described as incredibly calm. She's fully in the light. She's actually smiling. So... That's happiness, right? This is what she's like when I'm the only one around. Dang, bro. Yeah, and she just moves on so fast. I guess it's like she already left that house, right? And she's had years to think about her mother like that. I don't know, man. This is such a beautiful shot. Looking over as the sun's setting. It's like the sun's setting on her character, bro. This shot, this shot, this shot. Let me get this shot. Let me get this shot. So, red light, she's there. No, Ougi's there. And then Sodachi comes in. And then it's green and she leaves. I wonder if the green walk sign is at all because this is the green walk sign's being used for her leaving, right? Like that's how that motif's being used. That's interesting. I don't know if I have anything to say off that. I mean, that's kind of the fear. That's kind of the problem with moving forward is that sometimes forward is away, right? So if you have the people around you moving forward, sometimes they leave you. And so if you're not comfortable with people leaving you, like I don't think Araragi really is 100%, then that would give you motive to have the light not be green. You know what I'm saying? To stall the game, to stall the shogi game, to use that analogy. She was cast so well too. She was. Ougi, you can get that one. I do hope she'll be happy wherever she goes now. Me too. Because surely she'll have to be. Man, and to get out of the entire Araragi story, I mean, that's almost a win in of itself for her. Because Araragi's story do be full of chaos and pain. So for her to make a distinction from her mother in giving a goodbye and leaving of her own will while not being abused into another place, into another school, right? Like, I mean... Because I was going to say, like, it's bad if you don't deal with it and you run away. There's a difference from running away and moving away, right? Her being confronted with Araragi at the end, being told the situation fully, and having had that confrontation with Araragi in the last episode, surely that means she's moving away and not running away, right? That it's not like she's just leaving this house for another one because now this last house has been tainted. No. I think it's... Now she can move to a new place where the room's kept clean and not in relation to the dirty house prior, but just because it's kept clean. Right? I'm hoping. And Ougi's saying thanks to you. Ougi, how am I supposed to take this, girl? How am I supposed to take this? I don't... That's what I'm saying. That's what I've been saying, Araragi. I'm looking for a girl who's also... I'm looking for Hachi, bro. You're a little rat. You're looking for Hachi to hurt Hachi. Because you're a little monster. Got the answer to that question, yeah. Let us pray, indeed. Let me look at the first half again. So, yeah, the first half was mostly us getting up to that conclusion of cracking the case, right? And again, I do think that, like, if Ougi represents the thoughts Araragi has that he keeps hidden, then, or, like, that are underneath, right? Then, he figured it out, and Ougi showed up to crack the case when Hanakawa, in her, like, healthier state of mind, couldn't make the connection until she, like, fully thought about it. Which, I mean, that's almost something in and of itself, that, like, something so horrible can only be understood by people that are, like, in a kind of messed up spot. And so Hanakawa has to, like, fully be like, okay, let me put myself into the mindset to be able to get there. Whereas, like, for Ougi, it was like instant, right? So I find that to be interesting and kind of reflective. But yeah, I mean, most of that was just build up to that moment. The whole thing about, like, groping the breasts, right? Where Ougi's just taunting her. I mean, is it like Araragi taunting Hanakawa through Ougi, specifically in using, like, malicious sexualization language, which is such a different... This is, like, such a different energy than most of the other, like, sexualization things, right? Where it's like she's calling her like a all sorts of things, you know. I feel like it's usually like meant in like a inappropriate but still, like, you know, like, flippant way as opposed to abusive language or, like, mean language, you know. So that's interesting to me. Like, what do you say? If you apologize for being well endowed, that's not too super malicious. A couple of them felt pretty malicious, though, you know? Don't bore us with your silence. Like, jeez. So that felt like sexual, yes, but like almost uncharacteristic in the way that it was used for the show. Okay, let me make sure I saw this. Hanakawa may be forced to admit defeat by Ougi. I don't want Hanakawa to admit defeat. So he's going to yeah, and so she doesn't have to admit defeat. He's like, okay, in that case, to protect her, I'm going to say this thing. So he's giving himself a reason to say what Ougi wants him to say, which is I think what he wants to say to himself, but he has to give himself a reason to. Does that make sense? Is that real? Is that how we want to think about it? So that he's forced to he's given a way to rationalize it so that it's acceptable because he's like that now it's like a greater good thing, but in reality it's Ougi forcing the hand, and so he's forcing his own hand to say the negative things about Hanakawa. Right? So that's interesting. And then it's funny that she cleans the dye out of her hair. That's her saying, okay, square up time. And then once she's back in her full element, she gives it 3 seconds, 2.5 seconds of pure thought. And that's enough, dude. That's enough for the Gotakana to put it all together. See how the water splashes off for her too? I win. But we can't tell her. It's too horrible. Or yeah, jumping to it's a crazy idea too. I mean, to be fair, I jumped to suicide, so yeah. What does that say about me? Interesting. But yeah, rotting away, starvation is pretty horrible in its own way, of course. Yeah, that's just not good. I want to get that last thing again. Some of these. So this is Senjo, right? Totally broke finger. Oh, when you punched her, you broke your finger. Yoko. Sodachi came to apologize this morning, forgave her. I'm fine. But I have a broken finger. Yeah, I think the goodbye is what's so influential there. That's so reflective of Sodachi being in a better place, that she's giving the goodbye when previously she hasn't done that, right? And her mother didn't do that for her because of extraneous circumstance, right? But her experience with Adaragi, now she's giving those goodbyes, which I think means we're good. I think we can be happy about her present situation. Koyo, I'm sorry you're worried. I'll give you lots of deep kisses on our next date, okay? Deeply addicted to your kiss. Dang, Adaragi, you just flexing your girl right now. That's crazy. Message, and it's funny, the one with the heart gives us Sodachi. Message from Sodachi says under the desk, yours better half. Bro, she played you like a fiddle. She got you, bro. What a perfect ending for her character. Man, can she come back? What do you mean ending for her character? Give me Sodachi back. But yeah, that was a beautiful way to wrap it there. And this thing where he doesn't show us it. Ooh! That made me glad, but seeing her walk ahead also saddened me. That's good. Look, Adaragi's actually, to some degree, being glad that somebody's leaving. That's good. That's good characterization. Hopefully we can commit to this characterization. Countless sheets of paper. There were a couple that what were the contents later? Math questions? I don't think they could have been, I think it was a mix of all these things. Unbefitting words of gratitude. Even in the hypothetical, he sees them as unbefitting. That's crazy. But no, yeah, what's on the paper? I would say it's all of these things, right? Words of gratitude. A little, okay, maybe not the abuse. Maybe a little bit of abuse. All of it was possible. Let's see. For him to smile at it, though, makes me very happy. That he got a very proper goodbye. What do you think was in here? Adaragi just said, what do you think? Has he done that? Have we ever gotten that like second person language or like the you statement? How often does he directly talk to us like that? Because I mean it's implied with like here's the afterthought or the epilogue, aka the punchline. But for him to straight up say, what do you think it was? I mean that's the Araragi's telling us a story in like full force, right? But yeah, I mean that's just similar to what I used to say, what I said way back about Senjugahara and Araragi's relationship in Bake like 13 or whatever, where we didn't see a lot of what occurred, or you know, like a lot like their kiss was implied as opposed to being seen. And I found that like really powerful because like that shows it's so intimate to Araragi that he's withholding that. And so he's doing the same thing here with Sodachi, but he's even teasing us with it a little bit, right? Where he's withholding it because I think it's so personal and touching to him. And it's such a powerful goodbye for him. Yeah. Dang, bro. All of it was possible. Hey, what do you think? What do you think it was? What do you think was written here? Okay, let me look at the Let me look at the ED. I'm not tripping, right? It's the I hear your laughter beyond the door. Okay. Wait, that's the start of it, right? That's the first thing here? Let me just watch. This is the ED for 6. I hear your laughter beyond the door. You were supposed to be with me forever. Okay, so it's the same line. It's the same line. And then Ougi grabs the bottle here. And then, okay, and then it's Araragi. Yeah, okay. Here, it was the same thing, right? The context is just so different. Yeah, I hear your laughter beyond the door. You were supposed to be here with me forever. Okay. Man, and it's like, I hear your laughter beyond the door. I mean, that's like Sodachi with her mom. Because she talked to her through the door. You were supposed to be here with me forever. The mom died, right? I mean, even this room we're seeing has like a bunch of items. It's kind of like a little like cluttered, right? I mean, there's like a watermelon slice and like water. Like a lot of these, this looks like food items, like a sushi boat maybe. I don't know, but no, there's like books and other stuff too. Let's just do a full pass of this ED. I'm gonna mute it so I can do it full, without risking the copyright. Ougi with your little eyes, and then she goes, hey. Okay, Ougi. I breathed into the classroom window and wrote your name. Yeah, so this is like Araragi. Only to panic and wipe it with my sleeve. Wipe it with my sleeve makes me think of Ougi, bro. Because Ougi got them long sleeves, and Ougi, like, you'd be like, why? Like, low-key, that Ougi. I heard your voice from the hallway. And went home and hurried to hide my feelings. Does that all apply to Sodachi, to Araragi? At some point I became unable... I'm actually gonna turn the music on. I want it too much. To talk to you normally. Become unable to talk to you normally. Or... You knew how I felt. They did seem to have some kindred spirit, especially at that end there, where it was just the two of them private in the room, and he said, like, it was just like back then. Bro, we returned to the back then. That's actually great. They returned to their interaction when they were both kids and had, like, a similar interaction again, though this time I don't think it was fake for her, right? She actually got, like, it was more genuine. That's really sweet. But we will never see each other again. Bro, that one stings. No shot. You can't just... We will never see each other again with Sodachi like that. That's too much. That's too much. What even is left? What are we gonna do for the second half of this arc? Huh? No more Sodachi. What is Ougi gonna Oga something up? When are we gonna cut to being dead? Or is that gonna be in this next half? Is that gonna be in the next half? Are we gonna die? Are we gonna see Araragi die in a new way? Is it gonna cut perspectives to somebody else? Why is it still Owari? I don't know. Well, I guess, rip Sodachi as a character. I guess she's gone, which is pretty brutal. Rest in peace, her mother, who horrible water analogy that Ougi's throwing in, but at least I think Sodachi's gotten some peace from that. And it is what it is. Even Karen and Tsukiki don't remember, bro. That's just crazy. But at least she seems happy. She was incredibly calm as she said it, and then I think this next line, this is what Okoye is like when I'm the only one around, comma, just like in middle school during summer break. This shot right here, this is what we were looking for. Full light, full accepting of happiness, just like in middle school during summer break, right? So it's an acceptance back of those times, of the past, right? We're kind of reliving that moment in the present, accepting happiness into our lives, and then moving away and cutting ties. But with a proper goodbye, because neither of them have had proper goodbyes with anyone they've known in so long, right? But for this, I think that there was an element of it being proper that was really helpful for the two of them. But yeah, I think that's all I got for this one, guys. For guys and gals out there. For Owarimonogatari episode 7. What an episode! Sodachi's the GOAT. Sodachi's such a great character, so I'm really sad that she's probably gone, you know. Poor girl. But at least we can accept that she's in a better place now. I think we can take that pretty at face value, which is a dub. So, Hanakawa, love the Tiger Stripe reveal too. That was great. But yeah, on to the next. No idea what's going to be up next with Owari, episode 8. That should be really, really interesting. But yeah, on to the next. Of course, if you like the video, subscribe. If you are new, blah, 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 comment below if you have anything to say or join the Discord and talk to me or other Owarimonogatari fans there. Check the About Me for other links, and etc. You already know how it goes, but until then, until the next episode, that's all I got for tonight. I'll be seeing you then.